Thank you very much. I'm going to go faster this time. I'm wearing two hats, the UNCAT Coalition hat, the current chair of the UNCAT Coalition, and also my Open Government Partnership Steering Committee hat, as well as greeting you from Madrid on a sunny afternoon. So I've had a quick look at, I thought it'd be interesting to see to what extent the declaration moves us forward from the original convention. So I counted two things. I counted references to access to information and references to transparency. References to access to information, there are two in the declaration. There was one in the original convention. So you could see that as a doubling of the importance of access to information in the intervening years. I have to say that the language that we now have in the declaration is both weak and it's confusing. It's weak insofar as it talks about effective access to information in accordance with the domestic laws of states. So a total failure to do what we've been advocating for in the past year, which is to actually get a reference in the UNGAS declaration to the international standards, the recognition of access to information as a fundamental human right that has emerged since the UNCAT Convention was initially adopted. That's a great shame. It's also confusing because it says that there is a commitment to adopting appropriate and necessary procedures or regulations and designating and enhancing bodies responsible for facilitating access to information. Frankly, I don't know what that means. I don't know how to action that. It sounds good, but which bodies, designating which bodies, enhancing which bodies responsible for facilitating access to information? It would have been much better to have a clear reference to access to information laws, to strong oversight bodies like information commissioners, and so forth. So the language doesn't really work in terms of the way we talk about this fundamental right of access to information, this essential anti-corruption tool. When it comes to mentions of transparency, it's a doubling as well. We've gone from 99 in UNCAC to 19 now. And very briefly, what's most interesting is which areas now have transparency associated with them that didn't before. So whereas before we had kind of general transparency for anti-corruption, some transparency related to funding of political parties, to public finances, to reporting on anti-corruption measures, it's now expanded to include 3 references to transparency related to the private sector, a couple of references to beneficial ownership transparency, to judicial processes, to the SDGs, very general references, admittedly, but signaling something that could be useful, and also to a reference to the FACTI panel. Now, the FACTI panel has much more specific references to these issues, so much clearer language on beneficial ownership transparency, for example. I think it demonstrates that there's progress in our understanding of what should be made transparent, but the language isn't really strong. To finish, what can we do going forward using the language that we've got in the declaration? I think we have to use it to the extent that we can. We've had in the last few months a couple of sessions looking at how to integrate these concepts into, or to translate these concepts into concrete commitments in open government partnership action plans. And to the extent, for all those people listening, to the extent that your country is currently doing an open government partnership action plan, and you're trying to get, let's say, beneficial ownership or greater commitments on conflicts of interest or whatever it may be, I guess referencing the UNGAS political declaration is something. It's an extra piece of evidence as to why we should be doing these things. So I think that really the onus will be on us in civil society, for the activists and the experts who are participating in the call today, to try to make the most of this language and to perhaps translate it into what we understand it really should mean in practice. So for example, with access to information, what I'll be doing is saying, well, we've got this language. What this actually means under international standards is that we have to have access to information laws, recognize as a fundamental right, have independent oversight bodies, and so forth. So I think that it's disappointing at one level, but it's some kind of a platform that we can use to take forward the issues that many of us have been working for as part of this very important anti-corruption agenda, and perhaps to signal where we can in the future look for either additional protocols or strengthening of the UNCAC itself. So I'll leave it there, and thanks for the extra minute, and sorry again for just launching in silence at the beginning. Thank you.